happens when we go through this and I tell you I hate it, so you have to delete the whole video.
That one hair is sticking out.
I know. You said you liked it.
I couldn't see it.
Exactly, because my head was tired.
Alright, we're coming at you from our new office that Josh worked so hard on. This will eventually have our Evolve tagline up there in wood. So more decor stuff coming, but we wanted to get this video up. So we've been trying to do it for weeks now.
Is it weird that I'm wearing slippers in this video?
So we have done this video I think twice before, and I think it's a good topic to kind of reflect back on every year or every couple of years. And we're going to be talking about alcohol and why we live a sober lifestyle. So I've been sober. I haven't had any alcohol since the fall of 2014.
I haven't been drunk in probably 7 years. I think I had a beer at our engagement party. I think over those 7 years, I might have had like 3 drinks. Can't tell you when the last one was.
So it's been quite a while. We're 28, I'll be 29 in a month. I think it's kind of an abnormal or a rarity for people our age to not drink, and it can kind of be secluding. Is that the right word?
Seclude yourself.
In a way, just because we don't enjoy going to bars and like out and doing that kind of stuff sober. It can definitely be done, but I guess we'll kind of just share each of our stories and why we still don't currently drink. So, you want to go first because you're longer.
I originally stopped drinking because I got sick. Basically, I stopped drinking when I turned 21, which is pretty ironic because, I mean, I always tell people that I drank enough before that to last my lifetime, so it kind of evens out. But basically, I was feeling really shitty for a while. Like, I'd be on the couch for like a week straight, just heart pounding, hard time breathing. Felt like I was having a heart attack every single night, which is just creating anxiety on top of everything else. So I got my heart tested, I got my lungs tested, I got all these things done. I was in and out of the doctor. And then as I was studying for one of my certifications, I came across a disease called Barrett's esophagus. So basically it's a precancerous condition in your esophagus. It's a complication of GERD, gastrointestinal reflux disease. And basically my esophagus was eroded to the point where it looks like my intestinal lining. So I went to my gastroenterologist, said, hey, it's an endoscopy, let's see what this is. It said, there's no way you have this. This is an old person's disease. We can do it, but I don't expect to find it. Sure enough, I had it. So it was just about kind of managing symptoms for me initially. It was alcohol always flared that up, and it was always much, I mean, the things that I was paying for after drinking always made it much worse. So it wasn't even worth drinking to begin with. So I initially scaled back because of that, but as things got better, I never re-implemented it just because alcohol never added anything to my life. I had a house in Central. We were like one of the party houses. Like I said before, I drank enough before I was 21 to last the rest of my life. And I would say probably half the time that I drank, I blacked out. So it's not something that I wanted to reintroduce into my life, especially with all the positive things that were happening. Alcohol never added anything positive to my life. Addiction kind of runs in my family a bit. So it was just something where once I had gotten to the point where I had been sober for so long, it was like, why go back? Why even flirt with that? You know, why screw up all these good things? You know, potentially. Not that I would necessarily fall back into that, but it just wasn't worth the risk. So initially, like when I scaled off alcohol, it was really just telling friends no all the time. They didn't understand what I was doing or why I was doing it. They weren't supportive. So that probably chopped off half of my friend group. Eventually, my best friends finally came around. They understood what I was doing. They understood what I was going through, and they definitely made it a lot easier. But the first, even probably up to 2 years, was ridiculously hard. Everyone was mad all the time that I wasn't going out, I wasn't doing these things. But they didn't understand that I couldn't go to these functions and not drink. They wanted me to drink. I wasn't gonna drink. I couldn't go to these functions and enjoy being around all these people hammered. It's not like they were drinking casually. So it was just super hard for the first 2 or 3 years. But I mean, at this point in our lives, things kind of settle down. Obviously, we're not in college anymore, so that's a completely different atmosphere. It's definitely a lot easier. There's definitely a lot of other things we can do that don't center on alcohol. So I mean, how you handle that, if that's something you're interested in down the road, is gonna depend on your phase of life. Obviously, if you're still in school, it's gonna be a lot more difficult. You're not gonna, I don't know, unless you're integrating with new friends. It's just something where you're gonna find out who really supports you and who really has your best intentions at heart, which is a good thing. It's gonna bring a lot of that to light. But you know, whatever phase of life you're in, if it is later on, if you have kids, if you have all these things and you're just looking to feel better and do better, just kind of look at what's alcohol putting into your life and, you know, what's it taking away. And that's not judging anybody who drinks. Most of our friends still drink. I think we might have 5 friends in the world who don't drink. So it doesn't change anything. It just kind of changes the situations that we put ourselves in.
Yeah, so right up before I even get into my story, we're not making this video to like make you feel bad about alcohol or drinking. A lot of our clients still do it. Like Josh said, a lot of our friends still do it, and it's not something where we're like cutting it out of our lives to the point where we're cutting everybody out of our lives, because the reality of it is most people in our lives drink. But with that said, that doesn't mean that we have to participate in that behavior or those actions just because other people are doing it. And I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of you guys to understand who still drink is, you know, you can make an effort to go out and still go out with your friends, I think. Obviously it's going to be different than going out with them and getting hammered or getting drunk. Sorry if you're hearing the wind, it's like super windy out today. But I think that that's the biggest struggle, is realizing that there's going to be people who support you in it. Maybe there's people who don't support you or end up coming around like Josh's friends did, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. So to kind of get into my side of it a little bit, I started drinking because it was the cool thing to do. I think that's kind of how most people start. And I would only drink to get drunk. I think I can count like a handful of times where it was more of a casual thing. But my main goal of drinking was to get drunk, and I think at my peak of it, I was drinking 4 to 5 nights a week in college, and that was my life. That's all I looked forward to. I was doing okay in school. I was passing, but I wasn't like excelling, and I think it's because alcohol just took the priority. And I would say like 60 or 70% of the time that I did drink, I was probably blackout, which is honestly, it just makes me really upset thinking about it now. And then once I finished college, I graduated, I moved across the country right away. So I didn't know anybody. I had a few mutual friends. Josh was already out in San Diego, so I moved from Connecticut to San Diego. And at that point, I think I had 1 night of drinking out in California, and I just stopped after that. So I think that being with Josh and knowing that he didn't drink definitely helped with that scenario and kind of starting my life over. So I didn't have any of my friends around. I was just basically clean slate, was able to start over. I decided that this is what I don't want to do anymore. And then I think my last drink was a couple months into our relationship, and I don't even think I was drunk at that point, but I think I had a couple of drinks and I was like, it's just not worth it to me. So I think when you decide what is going to best fit your lifestyle, you have to figure out, is this adding value to my life, like Josh said, or is it taking away? And for me, it was always taking away. I would wake up the next day super hungover, wasted half the day sleeping, or just, you know, lounging around on the couch and just feeling crappy. I wasn't able to perform my best in the gym because my sleep wasn't good. And I think one of the arguments a lot of people make is that it helps them sleep.
Quality of sleep that you're getting when you're drunk is horrible, so it's not improving anything.
So it might help you, or it might be something that you think helps you fall asleep and sleep really great, but you're not entering that deep sleep that is crucial for you to recover from training and just feel good in your body. So while alcohol doesn't directly affect training, I think this was a big question from one of you guys on Instagram, it doesn't directly affect your training, but it does affect your sleep and recovery, which is obviously going to affect your training. So looking at it from that perspective, I think is important. And then as far as the nutrition side of things, we get asked a lot, how do you track alcohol? Is it possible to continue to drink and achieve fat loss goals and still gain muscle? So what would you say to somebody who asked you that?
It makes it more difficult, but you can. So you can track alcohol as a carb or as a fat. More effectively is tracking it as a fat. So you would take in the calories of your drink, whatever it is, divide that by 9 and track that as grams of fat. So as long as you're staying within your numbers and you're feeling good, you're training hard, and things are moving in the right direction, it's definitely possible. It's not helping you, but it's definitely possible to still hit your goals.
And then something to keep in mind too is that when most people drink, they're going out, they're having a few drinks or several drinks or whatever it be, you're also more likely to then have the unhealthy food or make poor decisions with your food late at night. Maybe you come home and you're hungry or you want a snack or whatever it is. Like, that's when people usually make those poor decisions, is when they're under the influence of alcohol. So in that case, it could set you back a little bit, but if you're smart about it and if you really commit to, let's say you commit to the goal of, all right, I'm gonna go out one night per week and have 1 drink or 2 drinks, and you really stick to that, then sure, you can still absolutely make progress. But it all comes back around to tracking it the right way and just ensuring that you're not using it to then go eat more food. And then the last kind of point I guess I wanted to touch on is, in our culture, it's such a normalized thing, and I think that in a way it's become this thing that you just do and that everybody just does. Like, for instance, you always hear people coming home and relaxing with a glass of wine, or just, I don't know, it's just become this.
I think a bigger component of it is the relationship factor. So
Yeah.
you go out and then you can have 1,000 new best friends from these nights of drinking, which is, it's legit. You go out, eat like business drinks and whatever you're doing in the social gatherings, it does have a component to that. And it is difficult to be that person who's always, pushing that away, saying no thank you, whatever, I'm not drinking, and then getting those looks, and then, whether they realize it or not, people are judging you in that light for not being part of the group. But it just has to come down to you deciding what's important to you. Is it more important to you to impress these people, or are you okay with your support group? Are you okay with, your goals and making these sacrifices and compromising in other areas? So people who are most important to you, the most important people in your life, are gonna understand eventually, and it's not gonna matter whether or not you drink. If it's important to you, don't drink. If it's not important to you, continue drinking. It's not gonna hold you back. This is just our side of things, and we're just explaining why we don't.
Yeah, but I totally agree with everything that you just said, but I was kind of going the direction where, like, I don't know, I'm in a bunch of like those mommy groups on Facebook, and like when I was pregnant I joined all these groups, and it's just so common to, I don't know, for maybe women especially, to be like, oh, I'm stressed, I'm gonna have a glass of wine, or I'm frustrated about this, I'm gonna have a glass of wine, or when the baby goes to sleep, I'm gonna have a glass of wine to relax. And well, yeah, I guess that's okay in a sense. It's also become this like habit, or like this just natural, normal thing to do, even if you don't necessarily want to do it. Like, it's just, I don't know, there's memes and there's t-shirts and there's all these things that just normalize it, and it's just, in my opinion, isn't something that should be normalized.
I agree, and I think if that is you, then that's probably the easiest change to make, though.
Yeah.
Understanding you can do 1,000 different things that are gonna help you relax better than that. So once you're aware of that, it's easier to make those changes. I agree, it is normalized, but once you kind of identify what your goals are, I would say that situation is the easiest one to change.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that like a lot of people tend to want to keep it for that relaxation, but I think it's the idea of it relaxing you is more relaxing than the actual alcohol relaxing you. There really isn't any research supporting that it's helping you in that sense. And I would argue that it would do more damage than good as far as stress levels go, just because alcohol is essentially a toxin in your body. It's something your body wants to get rid of, so it's placing your body under more stress internally to get rid of that, and you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. So looking at it from that perspective too, it's just not adding value not adding the value that you think it's adding. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But that's kind of our story with alcohol. I can confidently say I probably will never drink again for the rest of my life. I don't know if that's your case or not.
I'm a cigar guy.
I just don't miss it enough, and I'm happy with the way that we choose to live our life.
No, I think my biggest change in not wanting to go back to drinking is I enjoy life. Like, I love every second of it. I'm more mindful now. I don't need anything to enhance that. So I don't like not being controlled now either, especially with a kid. So that's not something that I look forward to. Oh, I want to go drink, I want to go forget about this, or I want to feel better about certain things. I already feel really good about it. So
yeah,
I don't see myself going back either.
You have the power to create the life that you want and be as happy as you want to be without it. So if anything, I hope this video inspires you. Obviously, do what is best for you and what is going to make you the happiest. But we hope that sharing our story in a way has given you that spark or that push that you have been waiting for if you've been thinking about ditching alcohol. So give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and comment below and let us know what you guys think. We will see you in the next video.
He's gonna fall asleep right now.
Is going to fall asleep because we are so boring. I'm sorry. Bye.